Miami Hurricanes are getting a visit today from a defensive lineman. More opportunities here, but even if the Hurricanes don't strike it big on the D-line in this transfer portal, can we find answers from within?
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I am Alex Donno, University of Miami alumnus, longtime South Florida sports radio vet, and contributor to allhurricanes.com. Thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen. We got a treat for the everydayers or for those who just stumbled in here today, because we have the man, the myth, the legend, Larry Blustein with us. And just to take people behind the curtain, every time I'm running through with Blue the list of players I want to talk about, no matter who they are or where they're from, he's seen everybody play. Blue, do you sleep?
Not really. I mean, it's funny that you mentioned that. I don't, not a big sleeper, because you know what the crazy thing is all these years I try to find out why, and then what I do is I'm always thinking. And then when you're thinking about players, or, hey, I got to watch this guy on film, Florida State or Miami are talking about this kid, let me go watch him. So when somebody like yourself asks me, at least I'll be informed, and I just don't have to start, putting out he's good, but tell you why he's good. And but to answer your question in the roundabout way, no, I don't sleep a whole lot.
So Miami is still kind of in limbo with Kiwi Rose from Louisiana Tech, who's been on a visit with Arkansas. We'll see how that goes. As we've covered here on Locked On Canes, Miami missed out on Tywone Malone, who has taken his talents to Columbus, Ohio. But the Hurricanes are getting a visit today from Anthony Campbell from Louisiana Monroe. He's played both interior and on the edge at Louisiana Monroe, and he's Blue. Size-wise, this is a very unique player because he's 6'7", about 283 pounds. I'm sure Miami wants to use him in the interior because they have edge rushers just oozing through that Miami roster. And if I look at Anthony Campbell's stats at Louisiana Monroe, I've been told he's underrated. I'll see if Blue echoes those sentiments. But last season, 13 total tackles, 3.5 TFL, had a sack last year. So, Blue, this is a player in the transfer portal from Louisiana Monroe, Anthony Campbell, who's visiting Miami today. What can you tell us? And do you think this guy's the real deal?
Well, first of all, I saw him 4 years ago at a camp at University of South Florida, the big man camp, and kind of looked at him because of his size at the time, probably 6'4.5", 6'5" at the time, and comes from Bartow High School, which is outside of Lakeland, just to the south of Lakeland. And the one thing that I like about him, he's got long arms. He's getting stronger all the time. He's a type of young man who's going to listen and learn, and he's like a sponge. Very, very intelligent guy. He's an asset, definitely. And watching him the last couple of years, and then going back on some film and seeing his the improvement, and that's the one thing that I like about him the most. Yeah, he's 6'7" and he's 265, but there's a lot of guys like that don't elevate their play, but definitely Anthony's somebody who does. And you talk to any of the coaches that have been around him, not just at the collegiate level but high school wise, and they all have glowing things to say. Richard Tate, his former head coach at Bartow High School, being one of those.
So, as Miami has, they've struggled a little bit landing defensive tackle targets. The fan base melts down a little bit. When you miss out on a guy like Tywone Malone, you see some negativity on social media. So, Blue, this is something I brought up yesterday, and I want your take on it. How many of the answers are already on the roster? Because, you look at Leonard Taylor is being projected as a 14th overall pick for next year by Todd McShay. So, he's got to play up to that potential, but you've got a really talented defensive tackle anchoring that line already. And then you look at other guys like Jarrett Harrison-Hunte, who might be penciled into the other starting spot. And some of the young players, Blue, like Ahmad Moten, he had a really good spring. I'm wondering if he can kind of explode and put himself on the map this year. And then an X factor like Joshua Horton, who's coming in as a true freshman this season out of Langston Hughes in Georgia. Do you think Miami's defensive tackle rotation might be in better shape already than some fans are led to believe?
Yeah, just an experience factor, and you brought up a couple of the players like Jarrett Harrison-Hunte. I mean, he's a guy that showed glimpses of what he's all about, and certainly, when you have, as we mentioned, a Leonard Taylor, and a guy has an opportunity, Thomas Gore down the line, or Branson Dean, or players like that. I think that they're in pretty good shape. And to answer your question about Moten, I've had an opportunity to watch him kind of grow, when he was at Piper High School in Sunrise for 2 years, then moved over to Cardinal Gibbons. And, the thing is, he got bigger and bigger. He's a strong guy. I think he had a really good spring. They like him a lot. And I think that they're comfortable with what they have. I mean, sure, you'd like to add more bodies, but I think that, they go into, to the summer with the idea. And as you mentioned, guys like Horton, and, you don't know. I mean, you could say, well, this guy's going to develop into this or that. You don't know, but nobody knows about anything. And I think the potential's there if these guys come up and play, to their potential or what Miami thought. They've got some guys on board. I mean, like I said, you like to add another one, but certainly I think they have to be kind of, pleased with, the athleticism and the potential that they have. And remember, the one thing that Mario Cristobal said when he came aboard is, the problem's never going to be with these kids getting elevated to their potential. And that's exciting. So you have a better chance now of watching the, guys like the Motens and some of the younger players, reaching that potential because of the coaching that's on board.
Yeah, and you've got some players that prefer playing on the edge but are capable of moving inside. Like Akeem Mesidor has done that in his career. He was used inside a lot at West Virginia. And I'm kind of wondering about Ruben Bain, Blue, because he's got enough size. I think he could hold up probably anywhere on that defensive line. Do you think we could see players like that being used maybe all over the line?
Yeah, most definitely. And here's the character of somebody like Bain. I mean, here he is. It's pretty much his off time. He was back working out with Miami Central yesterday.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's crazy. I mean, but that's a guy who's is going to be one of those 3-year guys, and then boom into the NFL. And I think you're right. I think he's a plug and play guy anywhere you put him. I mean, he's he reminds me a lot when he played of Warren Sapp, because I remember that they had a whole Warren Sapp out of practice by the time he was a junior because he dominated so much. And I think that you're going to find that. And you saw glimpses in the spring game with 3 sacks and, his ability to play. But yeah, I think they're in pretty good hands. And then he is one of those guys, as you pointed out, that you could probably put anywhere. I mean, he's athletic enough. He's fast enough. He's getting bigger all the time. I mean, from the time that he graduated from high school left high school till now is crazy. He hadn't even really graduated from high school yet.
We're only getting started here with the man, the myth, the legend, Larry Blustein, because Miami's getting an unofficial visit from my favorite tight end in the class. Caleb Odom is going to be back on campus this weekend. And there's a graduate transfer safety who seems to follow Lance Guidry wherever he goes, and he's in the transfer portal. So could there be a reunion there with Andre Sam and Lance Guidry at Miami? We'll talk about that and more. We're only getting started here with Larry Blustein on Locked On Canes. If you're looking for a delicious snack, my friends, but you don't want all the sugar and calories, you need the best tasting protein bar ever built. You got to try this. If you're like me, you want to make healthier snack choices, but you don't want to compromise taste, I've got just the thing for you. Built Bars and Built Puffs. Built Bars are healthy and taste amazing. They taste so amazing that you're not going to think they're good for you. You got to try this. What makes Built Bars so good? Well, for starters, they're all covered in 100% dark chocolate. That's right, real chocolate. And they come in unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, cookies, and cream. Getting hungry just thinking about it. I'm not sure how Built does it, but these bars taste like a candy bar while maintaining incredible macros. What's even better is, they're healthy. Only 130 calories, just 4 grams of sugar, and a whopping 17 grams of protein. And now you don't need to wait to get a box. For years, we've been talking about ordering Built Bars at Built.com, and now you can also get them at your local Walmart or Sam's Club, while you can still get your specialty flavors at Built.com with our promo code LOCKEDON15 for 15% off. That's right. Head to your nearest Walmart today. Walk to the pharmacy section. Grab yourself a box of Built Bars. If you're close to a Sam's Club, run in and grab a 13-bar box, and you can thank me later because I love me some Built Bars. Thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen. And if you want to take your everydayer status to the next level, you can become a VIP by joining our exclusive subtext SMS community. I send you guys text messages, 5, 10 per day, plus one-on-ones right to your phone on our subtext community. We add a lot of extra value there, guys. It's like kind of keeping the show going 24/7. So if you want to start your free trial, 14 days completely free, you can click the link in the show description below. And then if you do want to opt in after 14 days, $4.99 a month. We never ask for donations on the show or anything like that. This is a way to get some extra value in return if you want to join our exclusive subtext community. Larry Blustein, South Florida High School Sports Show on 560 WQAM is with us. So, Blue, let's talk about big tight end. Well, tall. I mean, he's, he could probably add a little bit of that girth, but Caleb Odom, I had a chance to meet him back in April, the first time he was on campus at Miami, 4-star tight end out of Carrollton, Georgia. They use him a lot there as a jumbo wide receiver. He's really athletic, really good hands, very, very tall, and Miami really likes this guy. What have you seen from watching him, and do you feel like, as I do, that at least for right now, Miami seems to be the favorite in his recruitment?
Yeah, it looks like that they are. And this is a kid that, I was talking to some people that, had covered him in the Georgia area. And they said the one thing is he's learning more and more how to block. And, that's when you look at it now, the specialty, it's not one of these things now. People aren't just taking the receivers or the tight ends who can catch. They need guys who are versatile to save roster spaces. And if you look at the NFL level, when let's take the Miami Dolphins, for example, when they took the tight ends that year, they took Gesicki, who was a receiver, and they took Durham Smythe, who was more of a blocking guy. So now they're looking for combination people like that. Here's a guy who probably is going to be a major weapon wherever he ends up. And, he's got, it's not like he's got Miami and then like other schools, he's got Colorado on him. Ole Miss was been on him, Tennessee, Alabama. I like him. And all he does is just add more to what I think potentially is a tight end room that over maybe the next year or two could be as good as you're going to get.
And does the tight end room being so loaded with guys who are very talented pass catchers, does that maybe take a little bit of pressure off the wide receiver room, Blue? Because one of the most common comments that I get on our YouTube channel and on Twitter is, because we talk about Miami trying to land this receiver, that receiver in the transfer portal. And then people keep asking me, well, why don't we use Jaleel Skinner more in the passing game? Because a guy like that can be a weapon and maybe take some pressure off your receiver rotation.
Well, that's a great point. I mean, Jaleel has shown, he's that he's is a receiver with a tight end mentality. I mean, he's got some speed on him. He's got really good hands. I think what Miami's trying to establish, and I think that I was just pointing that out, is that they want their tight ends to be versatile. They want them to, be able to get upfield a little bit, pair themselves with, a safety. But at the same time, if they stay in and the running game, is starting to click, they want them to learn how to block. And that's essential because they're doing it, for right now, but they're also doing it for the salability at the next level. Because like I said, roster spots in the NFL are very valuable. And if you could save one by having a tight end that not just specializes in catching the ball, but does both, I think that's where you're at advantage. And I think that the more you work on your blocking as a tight end, the further you're going to go and the more opportunities you're going to have. And I think that's where Miami's at. I mean, you look at all the guys that are on the roster now, guys with type of players that, have the athletic ability, the incoming freshman class with those three tight end prospects. You look at what's, with Mammarelli, and then obviously some of the guys who, have had, the one thing is you look at most of the tight ends in the room, none of them have experience.
Right.
A couple of them have been there, but none of them
except
really
for
McCormick
has been playing college football since since the leather helmet days. He's been around.
Despite him, somebody was asking me, "What do you think of him?" I go, "I went to school with him." No. Yeah, but I mean, you look at him, and obviously, but to answer your question, I think, that's where they're going to go to because of the fact that they're still looking for that receiver. In the spring, Colby Young and Jacoby George stepped up. They did, but they haven't done it in the regular season. So what you do in the offseason and what you do in the regular season are two very, very dramatic different things.
We're here with Larry Blustein, South Florida High School Sports radio show on 560 WQAM, and he's seen basically everyone play. I want to ask him about a very experienced safety who could be on Miami's radar, who's in the transfer portal. Remember, grad transfers can enter later. The rules about these deadlines don't apply to them the same way that it applies to the undergraduate guys. And a couple of IMG Academy players who are going to be visiting Miami in June. I want to get Blue's take on them, so keep it locked right here to Locked On Canes. Thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen today. And to the everydayers, we're going to have a loaded show with recruiting talk coming up tomorrow as well on Friday. So we're here 6 days, sometimes 7 days a week, sometimes multiple times per day on Locked On Canes. And if you're an everydayer, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the YouTube comments. Let us know on Twitter at Locked On Canes. And if you follow us at Locked On Canes, we will follow you back. Let us know if you're an everydayer, and we'll start to shout you guys out on that as well soon. But Larry Blustein is with us. Blue, another player that has to go on the radar now, and this could be kind of appropriate because I think Miami could use another safety in that rotation. Graduate transfer Andre Sam, he's a Lance Guidry guy. He played with Guidry under Guidry at Marshall, transferred to Tulane, presumably because of Guidry, and then Guidry left Tulane from Miami, and now Sam is he's in the transfer portal now, and so you've got to think Miami is a possible, if not probable, destination there. Blue, I like the idea of adding somebody who's got a lot of experience playing under Miami's defensive coordinator at the position that defensive coordinator specializes in, because he's a safety coach by trade, spends a lot of time with that group. So the possibility of adding a player like this who can really probably help his teammates transition into this new defense, I love the idea.
Yeah. Oh, well, why not? I mean, he's 6'1", 180, a guy who's played some high-level football in the past. I mean, he's rangy guy. He'll hit you a little bit. He's got good cover skills. He's kind of loose in the hips, so which kind of helps out. But his ability to kind of separate the receiver or the pass catcher from the ball is something that he's already made a trademark of. I talked to a couple of people at Marshall who just loved his intensity to the game. What he brought in. You make a great point, because having him would be such a plus for Coach Guidry, because he already knows that he has somebody who could probably help some of the younger guys. If they, we already have Cam Kinchins, who could probably help anybody in the country. Yeah. But you got a guy but Cam's still learning the new terminologies, the new philosophies of the defense, where here Andre kind of comes in, ready to go. You just take the wrapping off of him and he's ready to go. He knows what Coach Guidry expects. He knows, what this defense is all about. And yeah, I certainly think, and I believe, he's going to be an asset. And I think he's one of those guys that will end up at Miami. You don't leave a situation like Tulane, which is in his home state, if you didn't think that going somewhere else would further you and be an advantage to you. So, yeah, I think Andre's going to fit in really well. Miami needs that depth, and they need some frontline players to make plays. And I don't think any jobs other than Cam Kinchens, maybe Williams, are kind of one right now, because you still have players that are vying for that rotation. And certainly Andre can come in there with, like you said, with his experiences. He's 22, so he's had an opportunity to learn a lot of things.
So I want to talk about a couple of IMG Academy standouts who are going to be visiting second weekend of June. This duo is going to be coming in. Now, one of them is five-star Georgia commit Ellis Robinson, cornerback. So you have to wonder, is he going to get a call from Deion Sanders on National Signing Day next year? So yeah, you have to also wait on that situation. But he's committed to Georgia right now, but he's kept his recruitment open. He's allowing, I think his quote was, he's letting other programs shoot their shot just to see if they can move him off of the Georgia radar. And then four-star running back Jerrick Gibson is going to be visiting Miami that weekend as well. Now, neither of these players are trending to the U right now. Obviously not Robinson, and I believe Gibson is considered to be a Texas lean if you go by the recruiting sites. But what can you tell me about these players, Gibson and Robinson, and where Miami might stand with them?
Well, you picked out two guys that are in my top 5 in the state.
Wow.
Ellis Robinson at 6 foot, 175, 180 is, I think, the top corner, maybe just slightly ahead of his teammate, our former teammate, Charles Lester, who's at Sarasota Riverview right now. And I think Jerrick Gibson will probably go in as the number 1 running back, in the class. I mean, the kid is really good. I saw him last year during his junior year. I mean, this is a guy that is quick. He's about 5'10", 195. When we did a camp over at IMG, I had an opportunity to talk to him a little bit. Great young man. I mean, it just shows you the talent, that IMG has with David Stone, who I think is just one of the best in the nation and one of the best that's come out, overall. And, having guys like Ernest Willer, who I really like as well as a defensive lineman. But to answer your question, you take a look at Ellis, and he's a plug and play guy. First year he can come in. He's got that, he's got that attitude. He's got the knowledge. He's got the physical skills. And plus he's, from a maturity standpoint, he's not your regular 17, 18-year-old kid that's going to come in. He's been around it, played at a high level. And I think that's something to do with IMG, because, when kids are in high school, 15, 16, 17, they're at home, they're being able to be with mom and dad. But here's kids that, have been away. It's like it's a sleepaway school. It's not like something that you're, so you kind of take responsibility for yourself when you're like 16 or 17, which normal high school kids don't do. So I think when you throw in their athletic ability and their overall maturity, you got two guys that there's a reason why every college in the country are on them.
I love it. Well said, as always, by Larry Blustein. Blue, let us know when your next show is going to be on WQAM and what you expect we could find. Because all these playoff games.
Well, I was kind of rooting for the Heat to win last night, because that would have ensured we would have been on Monday. But I think they're going to make a little bit more of it. Hopefully they can win their next game, and then we'll be on Monday next week. If not, they'll have a game 7 on next Monday. So let's cross our fingers. But I think after this next week, we'll be on for the next 3 months, every Monday, 6 to 8, other than maybe Memorial Day. But other than that, we're in the mode where we're having a lot of guests. We had Coach Narduzzi from Pittsburgh the other night, and we're just going to, we had Mario Cristobal on already. We're going to have Coach Norvell from FSU coming up, as well as some of the other college coaches, Coach Satterfield from the University of Cincinnati, Coach Brom from Louisville. We'll get a good look at a lot of the ACC teams, and fans of Miami could listen in to just see who the opponents, what they have coming to the table. So I'm excited about it. It's a great show. Great listen, 7 different interviews every week. So, it's not like you're tied in. If there's one person you want to hear, you can pick it up and listen to them at any time.
It's a tremendous show. Blue does an awesome job, and make sure you follow him on Twitter at Larry Blustein. Make sure you follow our show at Locked On Canes. If you follow us, we will follow you back. Make sure to check out the link to our subtext SMS community. We include that in the show description below. And we'll talk to you guys again next time on another episode of Locked On Canes, part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.